Live in the afternoons with John Griffin. Hello, everybody. Hey, beautiful Wednesday, except a bit smoky outside there today. Ed Sheeran and featuring Justin Biebs with I Don't Care. Hey, coming up on the show right now, we have Rob Keller. He is part of this Extinction Rebellion, part of the Brisbane West group. Are you there, Rob? How are you?
Yeah, hi, John. I'm here. Well, how are you?
Very well, mate, very well. Now, a lot of people are annoyed with you guys at the moment. Now, the reason why I wanted to have a chat to you is to find out what is your actual cause, and so I'd like to give you guys a chance to talk on radio.
Okay, thanks, John. Well, whenever there's an injustice in society, people have the right to rebel. And we've got probably the biggest injustice in human history at the moment. Because we have got a looming climate catastrophe on its way, and it's going to affect all of your listeners and every single person and living thing on this planet. This is a mammoth injustice, and we have the right to rebel against that. If your government is not keeping us safe, then we have a legitimate right to rebel. And I think anyone who looks at the science and agrees that we are in a climate emergency would accept that our government is not keeping us safe by continuing to have no climate emergency policy.
Now, Rob, one of my questions is, now, do you have solar panels at your house, or are you on the grid?
I have a few solar panels.
Yeah, but are you still on the grid, though?
Yes, I'm still on the grid. Yep.
Right.
So hang on. So we're going to get this argument that...
No. I'm just asking you a few questions. Rob, I just want to ask you a few questions. So my second question is it all about this Adani coal mine? That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, it's not all about the Adani coal mine. It's about a lot more than that. It's about the whole fossil fuel that we're using in society, and no action for 30 years on the fossil fuels. That's what it's about.
You know that Saudi Arabia, do you know our footprint here in Australia compared to Saudi Arabia?
It doesn't really matter what our footprint here is, because everyone's footprint mounts up. Right. This is a global issue. We as individuals all have to stand up and start taking action. Every country, every individual in every country has to stand up and start taking action. And that's why I'm standing up and taking action, because, it's a planetary issue. We're all going to be affected. All your listeners, you and every human being and every animal on this planet is going to be affected.
Now, Rob, as you saw earlier, that Anastasia Palaszczuk and the Queensland government have brought out some new laws in regards to you guys. So have you ever been locked up before in regards to what you're doing? You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Do you know some of your friends have? Some of your friends have or not?
Well, so some of my colleagues in Extinction Rebellion have, yes.
Right. Now, what about, so what do you think of the new laws?
Well, apparently the rebels are carrying dangerous devices. Now, the problem with our society is we're saying that we all need to start telling the truth here. Now, so these laws are based on a lie. There's no such thing as there's no dangerous devices that I've ever seen. And she's basing these whole laws on the concept or the premise that there's dangerous devices. That is simply not true. So right from the word go, I'm very suspicious of why the need for bringing in new laws.
Now, Rob, my other question is, now, don't take offence to this, obviously, but don't you think it'd be nicer just to do it in a park or somewhere like West End Musgrave Park or like Botanical Gardens or something, instead of interrupting other people on their way to work? Because, for example, there's a lady who's not happy at the moment down the Gold Coast because she lost her mother the other day because an ambo couldn't get through and she couldn't get home to see her mother before she died. And what's just come up on my screen, actually, is a climate change protester forced a cancer sufferer to abandon car and walk to the hospital. So don't you think it'd be better off for you guys to sit in the park and do this protest? Why interrupt other people's lives?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and a most regrettable situation that you just outlined there. Look, none of us enjoy having to do this, and I say having because we are forced into it because there's an emergency that we're in.
Well, you're not forced to go down the street and glue yourselves to streets.
I spent 2 years doing those things that you just said about protesting in parks, protesting peacefully. I sent emails. I visited politicians. I signed petitions. I did all the peaceful things. I did all the lawful things. And from when I started, the CO2 emissions have continued to rise, and our governments have not even thought about instigating a climate change policy. So sadly, and I really mean it sadly, because I'm not one who likes disrupting people's lives, but sadly we have to be the alarm here and have to.
But Rob, I'm saying, isn't there a better way? Isn't there, Rob? Isn't there a better way? Rob, isn't there a better way of going about this instead of, as I just said, gluing yourselves to roads? And because don't forget, what are those glues made of? We all know what they're made of. Same as these barrels.
Is there a better way? I just outlined that we tried all the better ways. All the non.
So why not just go to Queensland government headquarters?
You need to let me finish.
Well, why not go to Queensland? No, my question is, why not go to Queensland Premier and stand out the front of her apartment or her?
I'm not going to let you finish. I'm not going to have the interview. You've got to let me finish. And I just outlined that we've tried everything. We've tried all the peaceful ways, and we got no attention from the government. And the government's killing its people. The government is not looking after its people. And if the government's not looking after people, we've got to try to be the alarm system and wake up the people and let them know that, hey, this is what the government's doing to us.
So, Rob, you think it's
a climate change policy? They need to start looking after us.
So, Rob, you think it's fair that people are dying in hospitals because they can't make it to hospitals because some of your people are blocking the traffic and stuff like that? You don't really care about that?
I very much care about that.
Well, it doesn't sound like it.
I don't know the particular issue that you're talking about, but I can tell you now that a few people if there are a few people dying, that's very regretful. But what's coming down the road is millions of people who are going to be dying. And the situation is going to be far worse than anything that we can create on the roads.
Now, Rob, have you, as you said before, you're on the grid, right? So why don't you just use candles instead of using electricity?
Well, I'm sorry that I just find that a totally ridiculous question.
Well, you're doing climate change, but you're part of the problem as well.
That is an absolute puerile question.
Why?
What you're really saying is we really need to keep all these activists at home. They can't use cars. They can't use electricity. We really need to lock them up so that they don't make a noise. And because they're being hypocrites.
Well, no, you're putting words in my mouth now. That's very silly to do. You shouldn't put words in a radio announcer's mouth, Rob. Now, you shouldn't put words in my mouth. That's a bit silly thing to do. Yeah, but Rob, do you know what I found funny the other day? You know how you guys did the march on the public holiday on Monday, just gone, in West End there in Brisbane, right?
Yep.
What I found hilarious was that there's a car towing a boat in the middle of it. Like, aren't you supposed to not drive cars? And isn't that the whole point of all this?
Oh, look, you're just trying to create a setup. This is just ridiculous. You're not really focusing on the true issue. The true issue is we are in a climate emergency. We are in a climate catastrophe. That is the real message that we should be looking at. And this is typical of the media. The media will not focus on the real issue, and nor will the government. And that's why we really need to get.
But you're contradicting yourself, Rob, because you're using electricity. Rob, you're using electricity. You're using cars, and you're making kids, like women who are pregnant, not get to a hospital on time. Like, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Like, there's a bloke on the train station today who's blocking trains for people to go to their hard-working jobs.
You're just trying to set me up.
Well, why are you doing this? Why are you stopping people from going to their hard-working jobs? Do you have a job, Rob? Do you have a job? Do you have a job? Do you have a job?
I'm retired, and
right.
Thanks very much. You're just trying to set us up. You're not telling the truth. I'm sorry.
Fantastic. So you're going to hang up then? Yeah, that's what they do. See, this is half their problem. So they don't want to answer questions to the media when the questions get a little bit too tough. This is what is the problem. And he just said, this Rob Keller bloke from, what's it called? Extinction Rebellion Brisbane West. So you can find them on Facebook page if you want to ask him any more questions, see whether he answers you or not. But no, they don't want to answer any questions, and that's just the way. This is typical. See, very typical of the way these guys act. Anyway, they can't answer questions, so what's their cause? And a lot of people are getting pissed off. Like, people are dying because ambos can't get through. And people are getting bashed up because police can't attend a DV order because they're too busy attending these morons who are, like, holding up traffic and stuff. It's ridiculous, and they should stop and go home and live off the grid, live on a candle. Like this Rob bloke, he's got electricity and everything. Like, what a joke. So who takes them seriously? No one takes them seriously. Back with more in just a moment.
John Griffin in the afternoons on Variety Digital Radio.